Hi, Mrs. Hogarth here. I'm down here in the corner. I wanted to walk you through this lesson. I know I'm not here today, so this is me being here. So the first thing you need is this handout, and the sub will give you this handout. The sub has these. So we're going to walk through this whole handout, and then we're going to do a demonstration of what to do on the second page. So first thing, make sure you put your name on it. So we're going to talk about what makes a good composition. A composition is how you arrange things on your paper or sculpture or whatever to make it pleasing and meaningful. At a lot of different things. When you look at this picture of the bee, you notice that he is not right in the middle. So a good rule is not put things right in the middle. You notice the bee here is right here at this intersection, and there's really not much going on right in the center. So do you see these intersections? Each intersection on the grid is a place to put something important or that you want to be noticed. Also, if you're putting a person or a tree or something like that, you want to use these vertical lines right here for that. Okay, use these vertical lines. Those are important pieces. On a landscape, you might want to put the horizon here or a person on one of these lines, not right in the middle. So this is to kind of keep you right out of the middle. The middle is a little boring. So to make things a little more interesting and to make things more noticeable, you put them on these intersections or on these lines. This is called the rule of thirds. And if you look at your phone camera, when you go to edit, a lot of times this grid will actually come up on your camera. So you've got the rule of thirds built right into your camera as well. And that's what that's for. Zoom move things to that rule of thirds. Now here's the grid by itself. And we're going to look at that with this Vincent van Gogh painting of these sailboats on the beach. You notice he's using the rule of thirds. He's also showing deep space. Do you remember we've been talking about that? See these sailboats getting closer to the horizon line, more faded, less contrast. And it's on that intersection. The horizon line is kind of broke that rule. It's kind of in the middle. But the boats balance that out, especially the boats here on the left. The most important parts are right here on this line, okay? And then even these angles and the tops of the sailboat, these are key points right here that he's using. Whoops. Didn't like that. So here's another example of the rule of thirds being used. You've got them off to the center and low. Okay, so the rule of thirds is really, really important. I want you to pay close attention to this. So that's number one, the rule of thirds. The second one we're going to look at is zooming and cropping. So this one's using the rule of thirds, but also these are itty bitty little mushrooms, tiny, tiny little mushrooms. The artist or the photographer, who's an artist, got close and cropped out and zoomed in and got the textures. He got really, really close. So all the other stuff in the the picture, the trees and the birds and the landscape and the leaves and the hills in the background, all that you can't see and he cropped that out. So he zoomed in really close. Again, when you're on your phone, I see you guys doing that. You're holding your phones, you're taking about a bunch of pictures, you're editing. You're actually doing this, but you need to do it in your artwork too, when you're drawing or when you're designing a page. So rule of thirds is number one. Second one is zooming and cropping. Zooming and cropping is also going to make a really interesting negative space. If you notice the negative space here, this is what's not the mushrooms. Very interesting negative space all the way around it. So he's zoomed and cropped, and he has an so zooming and cropping will actually make a nice negative space. If you notice, what we just looked at also was below the mushrooms. Okay, so he's giving us an interesting point of view above the eye level, below eye level, are. Here, look at this. These mushrooms are on the ground. He's getting in close. Okay, he's almost a little bit below. He's probably laying on the floor of the forest there. So you notice he's zooming in close. He's using the rule of thirds. He's zooming and cropping. All the background's kind of faded, so you know it's pushed back a little bit. But here he's using all of those things. So rule of thirds, zooming and cropping, and point of view. He's getting down close. If you just took it if you took these mushroom pictures when you're just standing there, it'd be pretty boring. First of all, you wouldn't be that close, and they would be lost. So he's done all of those things in this picture. So there's 3. And the fourth one we kind of hit a little bit earlier on, the negative space. So what do you do with all that negative space? We colored in the negative space when we did our animals, and then we focused on the positive space in another picture, but it's more than just coloring it in. You need to be aware, and this picture right now is zooming and cropping to make an interesting negative space. So when you use the zooming and cropping technique, you're also going to help with the negative space. If you're aware of it, you need. So this picture, the picture on the left, this is the angel oak tree down in South Carolina, near Myrtle Beach, or Charleston actually. But the angel on the left, that's the tree from far away. And that's a cool tree, and you want to go up and look at it. But on the right, look how they were really super aware of the negative space. They zoomed and cropped to make a more interesting negative space. Much more interesting picture to look at. Look carefully. Zooming and cropping. Interesting negative space. Actually, point of view as well. He's also used the rule of thirds in this. So there's 4 things you need. Compositions. Look at this Vincent van Gogh orchard painting. Negative space. Look how he's focused in on the negative space and really made that all kind of blues and greens with the contrast of the oranges and the browns for the tree trunks. But this one's all about the negative space. So to make it more interesting, you zoom and crop. Be really aware of the rule of thirds as you're building that negative space, and have an interesting kind of point of view. So let's look at the negative space here. How did Henri Matisse, he didn't color in a negative space, right? But he made a more interesting negative space. What he did was he had